Hey everyone. I never thought I'd be one of those people posting here, but honestly, I don't even know how to process what's happening anymore. My wife, let's call her Lena, and I have been together for 6 years, married for 3. And until about 2 months ago, I would have sworn we had a solid, normal, loving marriage. Not perfect, but stable, predictable, safe. Then out of absolutely nowhere, Lena started accusing me of cheating. Not like joking or teasing, but full-on, dramatic, voice-raised, teary-eyed accusations. The first time it happened, I literally laughed because I thought it was some kind of weird joke. I work from home, my routine hasn't changed in years, and I barely talk to anyone besides coworkers on Zoom. But she stormed into the living room one night after work, tossed her keys on the table, and said, "I know you're hiding something from me." At first I thought she meant dishes in the sink or something stupid, but no, she went straight into, "Who is she? Why are you acting weird? Why is your phone face down?" My phone was face down because I had just set it on the table like that. I always do. There was nothing to justify what she was saying. She kept insisting I was emotionally distant, acting different, making an effort to look nicer lately. All stuff that literally wasn't true. I actually started wondering if she was stressed from work or fighting with someone in her family. But the most disturbing part wasn't the accusations themselves, it was how confident she sounded, like she had caught me red-handed, except there was nothing to catch. That was the first night I realized something was very, very wrong. After that first meltdown, I tried brushing it off as stress. Lena works in marketing, and her office is basically a pressure cooker of deadlines, fake smiles, and passive-aggressive emails. I figured she was projecting, or overwhelmed. But the accusations didn't stop. They escalated. Suddenly every tiny thing I did was suspicious. If I took an extra 5 minutes walking the dog, who did you call? If I forgot to reply to her text for an hour while I was working, you're hiding something. If I changed shirts because I spilled coffee on myself, you're going out again, aren't you? It was insane, unhinged, totally unlike her. I kept asking what exactly made her feel this way, and she always dodged with, "A wife just knows," or my personal favorite, "Your energy is off." I tried suggesting therapy. She exploded. I tried joking about it. She doubled down. I tried reassuring her. She said I wasn't convincing enough. And the whole time, something felt off. Not just her behavior, but the timing, the intensity, the way she never actually explained anything. Looking back, it's obvious now, but back then, I was still trying to save the marriage, still trying to understand her, still trying to believe this was about me. It wasn't. About 3 weeks into the non-stop cheating accusations, I noticed something I somehow missed before. Lena was suddenly obsessed with her phone. She used to leave it everywhere, kitchen counter, bathroom sink, buried under laundry. She didn't care. But now, it was glued to her hand. She even took it with her to shower, which she had never done in 6 years. At first I brushed it off as paranoia from everything she'd been accusing me of. But then the little things started adding up. She began dressing nicer for work, even on days she normally didn't see clients. She suddenly started doing her makeup twice, once before leaving, once in the car. She put a password on her phone when she'd never bothered with one before. She started smiling at her screen in this soft way I hadn't seen in a long time. One night, while she was in the kitchen, her phone lit up on the couch beside me. The notification preview was turned off. Again, new. But I caught one thing, a heart emoji next to an unsaved number. My stomach dropped. When I asked her about it later gently, carefully, she snapped so fast it was like she'd been waiting for the question. "Oh, wow. So now you're going through my phone? Guilty much?" I hadn't touched her phone. I only saw the screen light up. But she made it into a whole performance, dramatic size, pacing around, accusing me of invading her privacy, saying I was deflecting and trying to flip the narrative. The irony is unreal now. There was something rehearsed about her reactions, manufactured, like she had prepared responses in advance. That was the moment the seed was planted in my head. What if she was accusing me because she had something to hide? I didn't have proof yet. I didn't even want to suspect it. But the mask she'd been wearing for weeks? It was starting to slip, and I was finally paying attention. The first real crack in her story didn't come from anything dramatic. It came from laundry. Literally, laundry. Lena got home from working late, dropped her tote bag on the floor, and went straight to shower again, with her phone in her hand. I went to pick up her bag because it was blocking the hallway. When I lifted it, something fell out. A receipt. From a restaurant in the next town over? A place we'd never been to together. A place she told me was too far and too expensive. Dinner for two. 2 cocktails. A dessert we had shared on our first date. My heart actually stopped. I stared at that receipt for a good full minute before my brain could even register what I was looking at. And then the world suddenly felt like it tilted sideways. When Lena got out of the shower, I asked calmly if she really worked late tonight. She froze. Just froze. Then she said the most robotic, rehearsed-sounding thing I'd ever heard come out of her mouth. Are you seriously checking up on me? Wow. Just wow. No answer, no explanation. Just pure offense, the kind someone uses when they're guilty. I showed her the receipt. She didn't even blink. She immediately fired back. That's my coworker. We were planning a team event. You're paranoid. This is why I think you're cheating. She said it so aggressively, so confidently, that for half a second I almost doubted myself. But then she snatched the receipt out of my hand, crumpled it, and stuffed it in her bag like it was radioactive. That's when I saw it. A flash of something in her eyes. Not anger. Not fear. Recognition. Like she had been waiting for this moment and had a plan for it. The gaslighting was official, and I knew deep down, even if I wasn't ready to face it, that something was seriously wrong. After that receipt incident, I started paying closer attention. Really paying attention. At first, I tried to act normal, like I wasn't noticing anything. But tiny patterns began sticking out, nagging at the back of my mind. Lena, working late, almost every Wednesday and Friday. Always in the same mysterious window of time. Her phone lighting up constantly. Always a quick smile or laugh when she thought I wasn't looking. She suddenly started checking in on me all the time, like she was testing my reactions, asking where I was, who I was talking to, making me justify normal errands. Strange smells on her clothes, perfume that wasn't hers. It felt like living in some twisted psychological thriller. She was accusing me of betrayal while actively hiding her own. One night, I came home earlier than usual from a client meeting. She had told me she was staying late to finish a presentation. I walked in, and the apartment was empty. No bags, no signs of leaving, just her perfume lingering, faintly, in the air. On the coffee table, a little scrap of paper with a phone number written in handwriting I didn't recognize. I didn't touch it. I just stared. My chest tightened. My mind raced. For the first time, the fear in my gut wasn't about her thinking I was cheating. It was what she was actually doing. That night, I didn't confront her. I didn't even speak. I just sat there, heart hammering, replaying every accusation, every dramatic meltdown, every suspicious smile. And slowly, a terrifying thought solidified. She's been cheating the whole time, and all those accusations were a smokescreen. A few days after the scrap of paper incident, I finally got the confirmation I didn't want to see but couldn't ignore. I was working late in our home office when Lena said she was going to meet a client for drinks. I didn't think much of it. She often had networking events. But then she sent me a text that was so casual it immediately raised red flags. Sorry, ran into an old friend. Might be late. Don't wait up. Old friend? Late? That heart eye emoji? My gut twisted into a knot. I did something I swore I'd never do. I looked at her phone notifications when she left it unattended. And there it was, a string of messages between her and a man I didn't know. Playful, flirty, intimate. And the kicker, she was calling him by a nickname she never used in front of me. I sat there staring at the screen. Every scene flashed in my head. Her accusations of my cheating. The arguments over my secret phone calls. The nights I tried to talk to her about feelings, and she turned it around on me. And now the truth was in front of me, undeniable. She had been manipulating me, painting me as the villain to deflect from her own betrayal. I felt sick, angry, betrayed, and completely, utterly confused. I wanted to scream, to throw the phone, to confront her right then and there. But I didn't. I needed a plan. I needed evidence. I wasn't just being paranoid anymore. I was being deceived. Once I saw those messages, something in me shifted. It was like my brain finally clicked out of denial mode. All the confusion, all the self-doubt she'd been feeding me, it turned into clarity. A painful, sharp kind of clarity. I stopped trying to convince her I wasn't cheating. I stopped arguing. I stopped reacting. Instead, I started observing. Quietly. Carefully. And that's when everything became obvious. Lena had this pattern. Now she'd leave the house at the exact same time every Wednesday and Friday, dressed way nicer than any client meeting required. Hair done, heels on, perfume she never wore around me. I didn't follow her. I didn't want to become the kind of man who stalks his wife. But I did take note, and I did check her location once, something I'd never done before because she shared it with me years ago. Apparently forgot. She wasn't at a restaurant. She wasn't at a coworker's house. She wasn't anywhere near her office. She was parked outside an apartment complex across town for 3 hours. My heart was pounding so hard I could hear it. I didn't need a picture. I didn't need screenshots. I didn't need a private investigator. That location was the truth she had been trying to bury under all her fake accusations. Calling me a cheater wasn't just manipulation, it was strategy. It was the perfect way to make me feel guilty and distracted while she kept doing whatever she was doing with him. And the sickest part? It worked for a while. That night, I sat on the couch in the dark for hours. I don't know if I cried or just stared at the wall. I remember feeling like my chest was collapsing inward, like something permanent had cracked in me. I decided right then, the next time she accused me of cheating, which I knew she would, I'd confront her. Not yelling, not losing control, just the truth. I just had to wait for her to hand me the perfect moment. And she did. It happened on a Thursday evening. She came home, humming some pop song like nothing was wrong, and immediately started in on me. "You've been distant. You barely talk to me. Are you seeing someone?" I paused, looked at her, calmly, which was unlike me because my emotions were usually all over the place. "Lena, I know about him." Her face froze. Her eyes widened like I'd just slapped her. "What are you talking about?" she snapped, voice sharp, but her hands started trembling. "Don't play dumb. The texts, the locations, the receipts, the lies. I know everything." She stared at me for a long, heavy second. Then she did what she always did when cornered. She tried to twist it. "You're imagining things. You've been paranoid for weeks. This is exactly why I say you're emotionally distant. You're accusing me of everything now, trying to ruin me." I felt my chest tighten. I felt anger, yes, but also a strange calm, like I had been preparing for this moment for months. "Lena, stop. Look at me. I'm not imagining this. I've seen the texts. I've seen where you've been. I'm not going to yell or fight. Just tell me the truth." For a long moment, she just looked at me, her mouth slightly open, like she didn't know what to do next. Then she went into full-blown performance mode, dramatic tears, sighs, shaking, saying I was too harsh, too controlling. How could I accuse her like this? I didn't move. I didn't flinch. Every lie, every manipulation she'd thrown at me over the past 2 months came back at me in that silence. I could feel it. The weight of every false accusation, every emotional trap, finally settling on her. I didn't shout. I didn't argue. I just let her unravel. And then, finally, almost reluctantly, she admitted it. After what felt like an eternity of her dramatic gaslighting, she finally broke. "Okay, fine," she whispered, voice small, almost unrecognizable. "Yes, I've been seeing someone." The words hit me like a punch to the gut. Not just the cheating, I already knew that, but the realization that every tear, every accusation, every late-night fight had been engineered to cover her own betrayal. "Every time you accused me," I said slowly, trying to keep my voice even, "it was to deflect from what you were doing. Every time you cried, every time you screamed at me, it was a lie." She looked down, her nails digging into her palms. For the first time in months, she was quiet. No gaslighting, no deflection, just guilt. And honestly, relief. "I didn't want you to find out," she said softly. I was scared you'd leave. I didn't know how else to handle it." I felt a wave of anger, yes, but also sadness. I realized the person I trusted most in the world had been systematically dismantling my sense of reality, all to hide her own guilt. For a moment, I wanted to scream. I wanted to throw things. I wanted to make her feel even a fraction of the chaos she'd caused me. But I didn't. I just sat there, breathing, processing, because I needed to figure out what I wanted next. The days after her confession were brutal. Not the kind of angry argument brutal. The quiet, soul-crushing kind. I kept replaying everything in my head. The accusations, the nights I cried alone, the way she turned me into the guilty one. I felt anger, yes, but also a deep, gnawing sadness and betrayal. Intense, raw, all-consuming betrayal. Sleep became impossible. I would wake up at 3 a.m., heart racing, thinking about what she said and what she hadn't said. I didn't trust my own memory. I didn't trust my feelings. I had been manipulated into doubting myself for months. And yet, there was a strange sense of clarity now. The fog was lifting. I could finally see the truth. She had lied. She had cheated. She had blamed me to cover it up. And now I had to decide, do I fight? Do I stay? Do I walk away? Every ordinary thing in life felt charged with tension. Walking into the kitchen and seeing her smile. Passing by her bedroom door and imagining the lies behind it. Hearing her laugh in the living room like nothing had happened. It was emotionally exhausting. And yet, it was also liberating, in a twisted way. I wasn't losing my mind anymore. I wasn't imagining things. I knew. The real battle now was internal. How to process the hurt, how to protect myself, how to figure out what life would look like without her manipulation hanging over me. After the initial shock, I realized I couldn't just drift through the next days pretending everything was normal. I had to decide what I wanted, and fast. I spent hours alone, thinking about all the trust that had been destroyed, thinking about how she had weaponized my love and commitment to cover her lies, thinking about whether I could ever look at her the same way again. Part of me wanted to stay. Part of me wanted to leave immediately. But I knew one thing for certain. I couldn't stay if the dynamic didn't change. I couldn't live in a marriage where love was used as a weapon, where accusations replaced honesty, where guilt was manufactured and thrown at me like it was my fault. So I decided to have one last, structured conversation with her. No yelling, no crying, no manipulation, just the facts. I laid everything out calmly. The receipts, the messages, the lies, the location evidence. I told her how I felt, betrayed, humiliated, emotionally exhausted. And I asked her the one question that mattered. Do you want to work on this, honestly, or is this over? Her reaction was telling. She hesitated, stammered, started to cry, but I could tell it was a mix of fear and guilt, not real remorse. She said she wanted to try, but I wasn't convinced, because wanting to try after all this didn't erase the months of manipulation. I realized that forgiveness, real forgiveness, would be a long, difficult road, and if she wasn't fully committed to rebuilding trust, staying would only prolong the pain. After that conversation, I knew I needed to protect myself emotionally, mentally, and practically. I started small. I stopped oversharing my every move with her. I put my phone on a password and set boundaries about personal space. I started documenting everything, receipts, messages, odd behaviors, not because I wanted a war, but so I could be clear-eyed about reality if things got worse. I also began leaning on friends and family more. For months, I had internalized all the stress, constantly doubting myself. Now, talking to people I trusted helped me anchor myself. Their perspective reminded me that I hadn't done anything wrong. At home, I made it clear. No more accusations. If she had a concern, we would talk calmly and factually. I needed transparency if we were going to even consider salvaging this marriage. Emotional manipulation was not acceptable. She reacted with a mix of defensiveness and remorse, sometimes apologizing, sometimes trying to guilt-trip me. I held firm. It was exhausting, but necessary. For the first time in months, I felt like I was reclaiming control over my own life. I wasn't just a victim of manipulation anymore. I was someone making deliberate choices. Once I had boundaries in place, the real work began. Rebuilding me. For so long, Lena's accusations had chipped away at my confidence. I second-guessed everything, my intuition, my feelings, even my worthiness of love. Now, without the constant gaslighting, I could start untangling myself from that fog. I started small, going on long walks alone, thinking without interruption, journaling my feelings, anger, sadness, confusion, without fear of judgment. Spending time with friends who reminded me what healthy relationships feel like. Every step felt both liberating and terrifying. Liberating because I was reclaiming my identity. Terrifying because I realized how much I had let someone else define my reality. I also reflected on the lessons I had learned. Trust your gut. If something feels off, investigate calmly, don't ignore it. Accusations are often a mirror for the accuser. If someone is pointing fingers obsessively, ask why. Protect your mental space. Emotional manipulation can destroy you if you don't notice it in time. Most importantly, I started forgiving myself. Not forgiving her, not yet, maybe never fully, but forgiving myself for doubting my instincts and for letting someone manipulate me for so long. It was slow, painful, but every day I felt a little lighter. After weeks of reflection, boundary setting, and emotional processing, I knew I had to make a decision. Staying in the marriage was an option, but only if she fully committed to honesty, therapy, and rebuilding trust. After the confrontation, it was clear she was willing to try, but her remorse felt more like fear of consequences than true understanding of the damage she'd caused. I realized, love alone isn't enough when trust is shattered this badly. A marriage without trust isn't a marriage, it's a constant battlefield. So I made the hardest decision of my life. I'm leaving. I told her calmly, without yelling or crying. I cannot stay in a marriage built on manipulation and lies. I need to protect myself. I hope you get help, but I'm choosing me now. She reacted with tears, pleas, and promises. I didn't argue. I didn't try to convince her I was right. I just stood firm. I packed some essentials that night and stayed with a friend for a few days while I sorted out the practical side: finances, apartment, lease, everything. It hurt like hell. Leaving a life I had built, a home I loved, a person I had once trusted completely. It was devastating. But in that pain there was clarity. I was no longer living under the shadow of her lies. I was reclaiming my life. It's been a few months since I left. The emotional scars are still there, some days heavier than others, but for the first time in years, I feel free. Free from manipulation, free from constant suspicion, free from being made to feel guilty for someone else's mistakes. Looking back, here's what I learned. Trust your instincts. If something feels off, don't dismiss it. Gaslighting can make you doubt yourself, but your gut is usually right. Accusations can be a mirror. When someone repeatedly accuses you of what they themselves are doing, pay attention. Patterns matter. Boundaries are essential. Protect your mental and emotional space. You can't fix someone else's behavior at the cost of your own sanity. Self-care isn't selfish. Rebuilding yourself after betrayal is not optional, it's necessary. Don't rush it, don't ignore it. Leaving can be the strongest form of love for yourself. Staying might feel like the easier option emotionally, but sometimes the bravest act is walking away. This experience broke me, reshaped me, and ultimately reminded me of my own strength. I can't say I'll trust so easily again, but I know now that I don't need to. I need honesty, respect, and mutual care. And if that's ever gone, I know I have the courage to protect myself. To anyone going through something similar, don't let anyone make you feel guilty for someone else's mistakes. Look for the truth, trust yourself, and don't be afraid to walk away.